The Gunner 12 by BlackHeart Knives. You know, I think one of my favorite reviews is to take a really good, high-quality knife and put it through its paces. Especially a custom knife, something that's really of high quality and high value. And so when Rich Robinson got in touch with me from BlackHeart Knives, they're out of Ventura, California. Been around since 2011. And he wanted me to test it out. He said, just take it and test it. I love what you do with your testing. He's been a subscriber for a number of years. And he said, let's just see what it'll do. I want to see it on video. I said, send it on. Now, one thing that I love about doing testing on a knife like this is that most people that buy this type of quality knife, they're going to take it and put it in a drawer. I'll never forget a good friend of mine who used to do drug interdiction down in South America told me that they would buy some of these really expensive knives, some of the best on the market, and when it came time to go into operation, they'd leave them and they'd pick up their cheap knives. And you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, we reserve these really nice knives for our safe queens, really. And instead of using them for what they're intended. And that's one of the things that Rich says is this is a self-preservation tool. You know, if you're ever going to have to depend on a knife, you really want something that you can stake your life on. And that's one of the things that Rich Robinson says is he makes every knife as though his own life depended on its performance. And so you may be saying, well, what's so special about this knife? You know, you can make up appearances, marketing, but we're going to talk about some specific things about this knife in particular that I've not found in any other knife maker. And I've done quite a few knife reviews, but we're going to go over kind of the specifics first. It's made of A2 steel, which is excellent, 60 Rockwell hardness. A2 steel is what makes steel tools. That's the steel you use to make tools. So it's got the perfect hardness and the perfect wear resistance. This is made for dies and cutting and a lot of different applications in industry. So you're putting this in a knife to start with, that's really going to give you a superior tool. The overall length of the blade is 12 inches. It weighs 16.9 ounces. It is a hefty knife, but it really feels like an extension of your hand. The canvas micarta scales are just beautiful, and they are precision cut on a 3D cutter, a machine with these diamond grips, and you can see the detail of the diamond, very symmetrical. The ridges, excellently executed, and so it just has a great feel to it. The finger choil here, and then of course your grips coming along are matched with the tang, and of course it is full tang. But look at the thickness on that tang, and then look at the detail on the jimping. It's just phenomenal. You know, a lot of times you get a hold of jimping and it's sharp, and some people think maybe that's okay because that way you can get a good grip on it. I'll tell you, if you've ever really used a knife, gotten out in the bush and really chopped down some trees with it, that will tear your thumb up. These are hand filed, smoothed, made really comfortable in the hand, but yet because of these spaces, it fits your thumb. It fits your fingers. Wherever you put them, it's going to really ride nicely, give you the gripping texture that you need, and yet it's not going to tear your fingers up. The blade itself is 6 3/4 inches in length. It's a convexed ground blade. Now, what we're talking about, it's a full height convex grind. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take my finger right here at the tip, and we're going to pull it, and I want you to watch how my fingers separate. Look at that separation. Now, what that's going to do is when you're cutting into something, whether it's a soft material, when you cut into it, it's actually going to push the material outward. So there's not going to be any snagging and very little resistance. If you have a straight, flat surface, you're going to have more resistance and snagging coming through the material, whether it's meat, whether it's wood, whatever it is. Just like this roast, see how it cuts? Cuts like a fillet knife. No resistance whatsoever. Easy to slide in, piercing, slicing. This pork roast, man, that slice is good. Yeah, I know from experience. I sliced my thumb. And so this is a really beautiful, almost beveled. And then I want you to look at this edge. This edge is incredible. It's almost like platinum. It takes a number of different processes to get that edge. In fact, the whole knife is first started out with 200 grit sandpaper, and then it goes all the way from 400, 600 to 1200 grit to get this really smooth, fine edge. And then it's completely Cerakoted to protect it. Now, the one thing about A2 steel is that it is vulnerable to the elements if left alone. And that's the way carbon steel is. I personally like the way carbon steel cuts. I like the way it feels. And, you know, it's like any other tool. You know, you put a tool away, as long as you just kind of keep it in a decent dry place, it's going to be okay. But when you're taking something like this out and it gets wet, you know, you're going to want to pull it off, clean it, give it a little shot of oil. The knife design itself is for a camp, bushcraft, survival blade. I mean, it is a utility knife, but yet it is a battle tool, as he calls it, for self-defense. It's, again, very balanced in the hand. It does feel like it's an extension of your hand. You can bring your finger up into the finger choil, or you can carry it just straight like this. It does feel comfortable, too, with different gripping methods. Whether you're doing hammer, saber, you know, reverse, ice pick, it doesn't matter. I mean, this grip just seems to fit all the different needs. You can see where they have these concave edges that come in every area where your fingers fit. And it does fit very nice. However you do. The palm swell here kind of has a ridge, so it really feels the palm if you're holding it in these different ways. So I was really impressed with the design of this grip. Now here at the tip, you have a talon, and this is going to be an excellent place for pressure points. If you need to use it almost as a hammer, you're going to be able to use this. Plus it has a small lanyard hole right here to be able to fit a lanyard, which with this size knife I would definitely recommend having a lanyard with this knife. The grip underneath is smooth all the way through. No jimping here. It's all along the top ridge, where that's really where your hand and your fingers are going to be utilized to control this knife. Now the spine is 7 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch thick. Now it goes and it has a very slight taper, and then we have a distal taper right here that causes a really strong tip. You're not going to have the tip just really thin coming out at the end. It's really strong right up to the base. And so you're going to be able to pry and do a lot of functions with this tip that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do with a lesser blade. But what really makes the Gunner 12 and all of BlackHeart knives different than your standard knife is the heat treating and tempering process that goes into this. There are over 30 hours of heat treating and tempering that go into each knife. It's in a vacuum heat treat. They do it 3 times. And this heat treating process does not destroy the carburization of this steel. And carburization, this HKP30 has a nitride carbureted slide, which is extremely tough and very wear resistant. The same type process that goes into the Gunner 12. Then the blades are cryo quenched at -300 degrees. And then it goes through a triple tempering process. So the treatment of the steel, the proper heat treating, the proper tempering, and then again with the cryo-quenched process that goes into this, it's going to put this metal through all the different stresses. And what that's going to do is show any imperfections, any impurities. If the knife is going to crack or break, it's going to do it during these processes. So once it goes through all that testing, it actually strengthens the surface of the metal, it strengthens the inside of the metal, and it really produces a super strong blade and something that you really can depend your life on. You don't have to worry about this breaking in the field. Now, the Gunner 12 and all of the BlackHeart Knives series knives are made in the USA. That is the steel, the Micarta handles, the grip screws, the hand-fitted Kydex sheath, the brads, the tech lock, even down to the grinders and the sandpaper and every process that goes into making this knife. He takes pride into going into every area and making sure that he is supporting U.S. industry. And to me, that is just incredible. Also, Rich Robinson makes every single knife. He doesn't have a lot of guys there working, doing all the legwork. He takes care of every process with these knives. And so the line is a Gunner 12, which we see here. There's also a Gunner 10, which is a little bit shorter version, a Juggernaut, a Mammoth, and a Valkyrie. And you can go to the BlackHeart Knives website and check out all the different designs. And that's blackheartknives.com. And of course, I'll have the link in the description below for you to check it out. I mean, there are just so many different cool things about the processes that go into making this really masterpiece of a knife. Now, the price on the Gunner 12 is $585. And some of you guys are going to pass out. I can already feel it. But the difference is with this knife is that you get what you pay for. You know what? If you want to buy a Glock-filled knife for $35, you can do that. And that's what you'll have. A good sturdy knife for around $35. And, you know, those are exceptional for the price. But if you really want something that you can stake your life on, something that can go through combat, it can go through turmoil, anything. Or if you just want an exceptionally beautiful knife to be able to have just in case, like we talked about. You know, you may not want to take this out in the field. And that's one of the reasons why these guys will send me a knife, because I'll take it out and I'll beat the fire out of it. And you know what? You don't have to. So knives like this are incredibly made. They're handmade. And to be honest with you guys, they are worth every penny. You can't afford it, you just can't afford it. Just like the H&K P30. I mean, it is an expensive handgun. And there are a lot of other firearms that'll shoot and do whatever it'll do for a lot less money. But you know what? You have something like this, and it's just a fine work of art. Same thing with this Gunner 12. You put this in your hand, I'll tell you what, it is worth every penny. For the tree huggers around there, I'm clearing out my creek. He does give a 15% discount if you're law enforcement or police. You don't have to be active military. If you've served at all, he will give you a 15% discount. So go to blackheartknives.com, check out all of his different selection and what he makes. And I'll tell you what, if you're really looking for a really impressive, high dollar, high quality knife, you're not going to find any better than BlackHeart Knives. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. then again triple tempering, and then it goes through a triple tempering, and then it goes through a triple tempering process with the cryo quenched. Then the blades are Then the blades are cryo. Then the blades are cryo. Then the blades are cryo quenched. That's hard to say. Cryo quenched. Cryo quenched. Good gosh. Then the blades are cryo quenched at minus 300 degrees, and then a temper. You're not going to find any better than BlackHeart Knives.
And that's a promise.